Hi everyone, it's Joe from Homegrown Musician and welcome back to another video. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about chopping up melodies into samples, dropping them into a sampler and then playing them out on a MIDI pad or controller. We'll be talking about how to do this technique, what you can do using this technique, and if you stick around till the end of the video, I'll show you a short track that I've made doing exactly that. So for those of you who have no idea what I've just said, let me show you in action. Or in fact, let me chuck you over to my friend, fellow producer, and all-round top bloke, Goodluck Dragon, who will be showing you what I mean in his song Blossom. So I'm really lucky to be working with Goodluck Dragon on this video and a few more coming up. So we'll be talking about production techniques, some composition tricks, just stuff to help you get the most out of your music. As you can tell, he's a mentally good producer, so he's definitely one to watch out for. So let's get on to the technique. So to follow today's tutorial, you'll need two things, a DAW with a sampler and a MIDI controller. So I personally use Ableton because I really like the drum rack in it, I think the sample is great, but I know for a fact that this works in Logic and Pro Tools and I'm sure every other major DAW. As for a MIDI controller, I personally use this MPK Mini because I really like the pads on it and because, well, my keyboard skills are absolutely However, if your MIDI controller doesn't have pads, don't worry because you can map the samples to the keys instead. So step number one, find a melody. Now this could be something that you've composed yourself, so an original, it might be a sample that you found from a pack or off the internet, and it really doesn't matter what the instrument is, so it could be sung, piano, guitars, whatever you want. So personally, I'll be using Goodluck Dragon's melody from earlier, so from that little clip that we saw at the start of the video, and just a side note, if your melody's currently in MIDI format, you'll need to bounce it out into audio as this is crucial for the next step. So step two, chop your melody. So now this is why I said it's really important that your melody's in audio and not MIDI, because we're now going to be chopping it up. So you can do this randomly and just hack away at the sample. You can chop in patterns, so maybe you're only going to chop in eighth notes or quarter notes. Or what I personally like to do is chop according to the flow or the musical feel of the melody itself. So Goodluck Dragon's melody is at 108 beats per minute, which is the tempo, and in 4/4, which is the time signature. If you don't know what either of those words mean, I actually made a video all about tempo and time signature right back when I started this channel, so I'll link to that, and I highly recommend just going and refreshing yourself so you can catch up. So despite being in 4/4, Goodluck Dragon's melody has a really clear triplet feeling, which means per one beat there are 3 notes. Now this might sound kind of complicated, especially if you don't have a formal training in rhythm, but there are loads of great examples of triplets in pop music. So one of my personal favourite examples is Shelter by Porter Robinson and Maschine. So at the end of the hook, you can really clearly hear the triplet feeling, so I'll just sing that for you now. Da 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 da. Da 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 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. You can really clearly hear there are 3 notes for every beat. So funnily enough, one of the best examples of triplet feel in modern pop music is Versace by Migos, and I say funnily enough because a lot of people are quite quick to judge their bad music, and I'm not going to get into the philosophy of what is good and what is bad because completely different topic, but I will demonstrate the triplet feel now. Versace, 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 and 1 2 3 1 2 3 triplet, triplet. So now we have a slightly better understanding of triplets, back to the sample. So like I said, this sample has a really clear triplet feel, so I can tell Ableton's grid to only move in triplets by pressing Command 3. Now wherever I chop, I'll be locked to that triplet feel of the music, which means even if I chop the sample up into smaller parts, I'll still retain the overall musical flow. So after that slight deviation, on to step 3, putting your melodic fragments into a sampler. So to do this, create a new MIDI track by going through the menus or using the hotkeys Shift-Command-T. Now put a drum rack instrument on your new MIDI track. Now load up your drum rack, grab each of your melodic samples and drop them onto an empty slot. Conveniently enough, my melody divided evenly by 8 and I only have 8 pads on my MIDI controller, so it fit pretty well. Finally, step 4, connect your MIDI controller and start playing. Now Ableton's actually pretty good at finding controllers and mapping everything automatically, so it should be as simple as plugging your MIDI controller in and getting going. However, if you can't hear any sound, here's a few basic troubleshooting tips that might help. So firstly, go to your preferences menu and down to link MIDI. Here, you should see your MIDI controller being detected by Ableton. If you can't, then something's definitely gone wrong. So if you can see your MIDI controller but you can't hear any sound, there's a chance you're playing the right notes but just in the wrong octave. So press your octave key a few times and see if that fixes the problem. Now if you still can't hear anything, there's a chance that you simply forgot to record arm or monitor the track that you're on, which means Ableton won't play anything back for you. However, this is actually the end of the process, and you now should be able to play your melody out on either your pads or your keys. So now we've sorted out all the technical details, how can we use this technique in our music production? So like I said back at the beginning of the video, this technique is really good for adding a human performed element to your music. It doesn't matter how good you think you are at MIDI pads, you are never going to be as tight as just snapping something to a grid. Also, electronic music production is good fun, but sometimes it does just feel like all we do is click and drag stuff around a screen. So not only does it add a human character to your music, you get to have more fun making it. So one personal benefit that I find from this technique is I have way more creative mileage. I can get so much more out of a melody. So normally I'd look at Goodluck Dragon's melody as one sample, but now I've chopped it up into 8 and I can treat each of them individually. Within the sampler alone, I could add a filter to one, I could spread the stereo width of another really far apart, I could turn the pitch of one really far down, I could turn the pitch of another really high, and all of a sudden I've transformed these 8 melodies into something else. So here's a really quick example of what I mean. I made this short beat using only one melodic fragment and the pitch wheel. Okay, don't get me wrong, I know it's not a #1 banger just yet, but it has the start of something, and I only made that because of this technique. By using the MIDI pads, I'm way more creative, less conservative with my musical ideas, and I can get so much more out of just a little musical fragment. Now my final plus for this technique is my personal favourite, completely reinventing melodies and coming up with something new on the spot. So that actually brings us to the end of today's video. So obviously I hope you enjoyed the video, but I really hope it's inspired you to go and try something new in your own music production. So I don't know if you can tell, I'm not a drum and bass producer. It's definitely not my forte. I don't even know if what I actually made counts as drum and bass. I just keep calling it that because that's how little I know about the genre. I'd have never have done something like that normally, but because I actually had something malleable to play with, it inspired something completely new in my own music making. Also, I'd like to give a really big shout out to Goodluck Dragon. Really nice guy, great producer, and he's been massively instrumental in today's video. Hopefully it won't be the last you see or hear of him on this channel, so links below. And please, if you enjoyed, remember to like, share and subscribe as it will massively help the channel.